Today's video is going to be called Garage Vlog number 1, Shop Vlog number 1. It's going to be a bunch of little ideas, macro projects that are not pertaining to the same subject, but all exciting in their own regard, which I think is a more realistic depiction of what happens inside a garage on a pretty regular day. Tomorrow, we'll get back to building the giveaway supercar, but today it's $700 BMW time once again. You guys may have noticed a fluid film logo at the start of these videos, and I can assure you that has been for very, very good reason. The entire concept behind this channel has been and always will be automotive longevity. I want to teach you guys about products and practices that take the life of our cars and basically extend them indefinitely, whether it's through super simple processes like washing a car properly, or more complicated things like taking something completely apart, restoring it, putting it back together with new and refinished parts. Either way, doing little things or big things to let us enjoy these cars for as long as possible. One area that I had yet to explore is undercoating, which is interesting being I'm in Canada and it's something that's so common. People do it every fall. When it comes to the vintage BMW, Mercedes, Porsche spaces, I feel like it's not something that's talked about as much when it really is something that could benefit these cars and stop a lot of the major problems that these cars see more and more every year. Instead of coilover and wheels first, we might need to switch this whole thing up to undercoating, oil change, and then coilovers and wheels. With all that being said, my E34 got a ton of maintenance work done last week, and while it's still on the lift, I'd like to do one more thing. Mechanically, the car is running better than it ever has before, but unfortunately for us, it doesn't matter how many times we change the engine oil on a car. A vintage BMW is always going to be on the verge of rust maxing, and this one is no different. So I'm going to show you how we're going to stop that rust in its tracks in the easiest way possible with fluid film. The first thing we're going to do, grab a foam cannon, one we don't care about, fill it with degreaser, just a little smidge of water, spray the undercarriage of the car back to front, scrubbing and rinsing as we go. We don't need the car to be perfect. It just needs to be a clean slate with as little residual dirt and debris as possible. This car is never going to be the E30. You could probably eat a steak off of any given part under that car. This one, aiming for more driver car spectrum, want it to be easy to work on where debris and dirt isn't falling in your face, but it doesn't need to look flawless. Somewhere in the middle of junkyard car and E30. That's what we're going for here. But once it is clean, we're going to take fluid film in the aerosol format. This is the most accessible for you guys and the easiest to use. Pop the cap off. It's ready to go. We're going to spray every inch under the car with the exception of the exhaust. Don't need it on that and also need to replace it anyways. So every nook and cranny thoroughly cover, and we're also going to get a thin layer on all the flat sections. If you know these old BMWs, you know the floors. They're basically just waiting to rust out from under us, so that is essential that we get this on there as soon as possible. Should have done this years ago, but I think I was waiting for this opportunity secretly. First things first, let's get the foam cannon full of the degreaser. came to choosing fluid film over other brands and products in the space, there were a ton of different reasons, everything ranging from the actual product itself, quality and longevity, to things like the company. Fluid film was started in the 1940s. It's been family owned and operated since then, which has always been one of my favorite traits about a company. I think it's very telling. Fluid film has been used on everything from naval use to things like space shuttles, and if it's good enough for a space shuttle, it is probably good enough for our $500 BMWs, and I think that is a fact. When it comes to the actual product, fluid film is very environmentally friendly. It's non-toxic, solvent-free, and it's not hazardous, meaning applying this to your car and maybe having some of it wash off or make contact with the ground isn't going to be a problem for the environment, and I don't think you can say that about very many products like this. It's a wool wax formula, meaning it's going to resist water and stick to the bottom of your car a lot better than other products that basically remove themselves at contact with water. Fluid film comes in both a clear and a black formula. For these old unibody BMWs, I think the clear makes a lot more sense, but for something like an old Toyota that has a frame, I'd most likely do the black on the frame and then the clear on the actual body of the truck. In this video, you see me applying the fluid film by aerosol can. I did this because I think it's most easy access for you guys. You can walk into any automotive parts store, any bigger box retailer like in Canada, Canadian Tire has these at an affordable, reasonable price, and you can do this at home very, very easily. There are other methods of application. They actually have a fluid film branded aerosol sprayer that you connect to compressed air. That's arguably the more professional way to apply this, but I thought this way was easiest to show you guys that it's so easy, and doing this to your car once a year could greatly affect and prolong the life of it when it comes to everything from like rusty subframes, rusty suspension, even if it's just your hardware and wanting to be easier to work on later down the road. On this particular application on the E34, I sprayed the entire undercarriage front to back, making sure to get it into the extra tight locations, on the underbody above the diff, on top of the gas tank, and especially on the hard lines running front to back. I then put the extension on the can and sprayed it into the two frame rails at the front of the car. I then also did the frame rails in the engine bay, and once the doors are back together on the interior, I'm going to spray it into the doors to make sure it's protected from rust at the bottom, because we all know E34s with those silly little trims at the bottom, they like to get kind of rusty. The Red46 skid plates are available now on the site www.red46motorsport.com. E34 plates, E30 plates, E28 plates, and then a bunch of different engine variations between those chassis. The ones that are on the site are in stock and ready to ship to you guys right now. Today, we are of course going to install the E34 V8 plate onto my Touring, my 530i, show you how it's done, show you what it looks like installed, and show you the benefits of these skid plates right here. The install on the skid plates is super easy, and it's something that I'm very happy with. For the E34 model, you take the subframe bracket, slide it into the actual subframe. You then line the two holes up with the two holes in the center of the subframe and take the skid plate and kind of mock it up there. Make sure it's parallel at the front cross member and that the two holes line up on the subframe. Take the bracket and sandwich the skid plate between it. Two bolts, two washers, hand tighten them so that you can still have a little bit of play in it. And then at the front, you can either have a friend hold it for you, or what I prefer to do is take two clamps, clamp it down in the exact position you want, and then you can start going ahead and drilling your holes through your cross member. Once they're all drilled, grab the cross member bracket. It's a little awkward, but you can slide it up in there. It fits perfectly once it is in place. Grab your hardware, bolts and washers, get those all started, thread them in evenly, and then once they're all tight, we can tighten the cross member and the subframe bolts all down to 16 foot-pounds. I'm really quite proud of just how easy the installation process on these is. Just a few hand tools, a couple jack stands, and you can do this in a matter of 30 minutes to an hour on the floor of your garage at home. For such an easy process and such a little stuff required, it offers such an immense amount of insurance for, in this case, your vintage BMW E34 oil pan, but across the other models as well. Got the skid plate up on the car. I personally think it integrates into the undercarriage really well, while also being a nice piece to look at. You may have noticed that this cutout right here, it's typically for your oil drain plug, so you can do maintenance super easily. And if you have a V8 E34, your oil drain plug will be right there. However, my car is a little bit of an anomaly. My drain plug, right there. Tried to figure out the exact reason for this. There was a hypothesis that because this car was block swapped from a recall at the dealership, the Nissan block that it came with this specific oil lower pan on it, and it just didn't line up with the factory one. That's pretty much all I have. Any information online pointed to the oil drain plug being in the correct location. If you search the part number on this specific oil pan, it comes up as the other one where the drain plug is in the correct location. So if you're ordering a V8 oil pan, there's a good chance, 9 times, probably 19 times out of 20, that the oil pan is gonna have the drain plug in the correct location. If it doesn't, please just send us an email first and we'll figure something out for you guys. These right here are E36 M3 subframe dropouts. That is the front, and this is the rear. Now you may be thinking, you don't have an E36, but what we do have here are goals, and a BMW E36 318i or IS is the only 2026 goal that is happening, and I'm prepared, or I'm in the process of preparing. You may have noticed certain things around the shop in the background of videos pertaining to cars that don't actually exist, and while the car doesn't exist, the parts can start accumulating, and at this point, with the new year coming up so quickly, week and a half away at this point, I'm starting to get ready, and this is something I wanted to do for a very, very long time. So right here, we have full dropout M3 front and rear subframes, just missing the trailing arms. I'm currently fully disassembling them. I'm gonna have reinforcement plates welded into them, send them off to powder coat, and kind of get a jump on a project that isn't even started yet. I believe the reason I want to and can start on a project that actually doesn't even exist, don't even have the keys, is because the direction, it's kind of always been present. The cars I have, they're not here for content, they're not here because they'd be good for views, they just are things that I genuinely love. I'd have them regardless. The fact that I very much enjoy making videos and very much enjoy these cars is kind of just the perfect storm, and the E36, it's gonna be the exact same thing. Most of you will know I had the green E36 convertible in the past. It being a convertible was kind of the major reason that I didn't want to continue with that. I knew the dream was a sedan, and to put all that money and effort into something that wasn't even going to be what I wanted, and it's not like it was a far financial cry away. We're not talking European M3s or Alpinas, we're simply talking about 318s here. So taking the parts off that, hoarding them, collecting more over the years, and putting them all into the car that I consider my dream spec that I intend on keeping forever is a much better plan. And getting started on it now is gonna allow me the time to finish the E34, get it fully functional, have it at home in the driveway, get the engine into the E30, and then once these things are done, there'll be a new car to bring to the channel. If the perfect car comes up before those things are done, I will purchase it and just store it away for the time being, but I'm not actually gonna get into it until these projects are E34 done and E30 well on its way, because you guys know how slow I work. I can't fathom another project. Things will just get slower, so we'll get those things dialed in, then we can start on this. But getting a good, I'd say, jump off right now with these subframes is gonna allow for the foundation to be built off of, and we should be able to create what I think is a very, very good car. Ideally, the best one I've ever done, and we're gonna learn some new things on it that I'm honestly so excited to learn, even more so than just having the car, the skills that will be learned along with it. The first time I removed bushings from a subframe, I applied the heat source directly to the actual bushing. I thought fire meant good. What fire meant actually was sticky, rubbery mess that never came out properly. What you need to do is apply the heat to the metal surrounding the bushing, allowing it to remove the tension and the bushing to get hammered out in a matter of 2 to 3 minutes per bushing. It's very, very easy, and this might be common knowledge to everyone except me. I think I wasn't looking closely enough the first time I did this, but now it's a task I don't even mind doing. It was very, very simple. With the subframe bushings being gone, we can move on to the next steps. We're left with somewhat of a blank canvas, more of a rusty canvas if I do say so myself, but that's fixable. First things first, reinforcement plates. Over the past 30 years, companies have developed products to reinforce the OEM E36 chassis subframes to make them more modern spec, modern rigidity, and that's what we have here. Pretty much all of them on the market. We're gonna get welded in, send those off to semi-gloss powder coat, and they should be looking as OEM with a little OEM Plus upgrade as possible. On top of that, chassis bracing, we have a bunch of different arms from SPL. Not that the OEM arms have anything wrong with them, but there are better products on the market now, and when better products are available, we are gonna try and use them. And there's a ton of other stuff. I'm very excited to get working on this project without it even being here, without it even existing. I don't know what car it is, I don't know what color it's gonna be. We just know it's gonna be an E36, 318, I or IS sedan. That's it. Anything else could happen, we have no idea. But getting these projects started will allow me to, once the car actually arrives, work through it a little bit smoother. Once the E30 and E34 are complete, it'll be the project we're focusing on, and we should have a bunch of stuff ready so that it's not these large lapses in time of nothing getting done, parts being built, money being saved to do things. It'll all be here and ready to work through just a little bit quicker. Not social media inflated build instantly, but just a little bit smoother if possible.